Can we all rise for the pledge?
A certain degree.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So, Tara, before we start the meeting, we got a quick Philipstown Depot Theater meeting.
Good evening.
So, Claudio,
Already up here.
There you are, sir.
There I am. Under the Philipstown Depot Theater's bylaws, at a special meeting of the members of the corporation, which is the town board, plus one member of the Recreation Commission, yours truly, and one appointee from the Philipstown Depot Theater, currently Steve Ives, who can't be here tonight, may elect new members of the Board of Directors. We have nominated the following individual: Karen Kapoor, 15 Fishkill Avenue, Cold Spring. I think most of you know her. If you don't, I've included a brief curriculum. And so
I will
call to order.
I will call the meeting to order. We do have a presence of a quorum. We have the 4 town board members and Claudio. So we do have a quorum. Nomination of the directors.
I would like to nominate Karen Kapoor.
Karen Kapoor. Can I get a motion approving Karen Kapoor for the depot directors?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. For those of you that don't know Karen Kapoor, I think most of us do know Karen Kapoor. What a wonderful individual, and just a wealth of energy and pleasance by all means. So I guess now we'll put our real meeting to order. So we do have first of all, welcome everybody to the October meeting. We do have a large agenda for this evening, so we're going to try to go right through it quickly and get some stuff accomplished here. So, okay, approval of minutes of the regular monthly meeting of August 4th, 2022.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Committee reports. Conservation Board.
The Conservation Board met on September 13th. There was a 15 Kings Dock Road item on the case. They're doing a extension of their home with a pool. The Conservation Board still saw that some of the plans were in the wetlands buffer and stream zone, so they requested a detailed engineering plan and an alternatives analysis to see if there were other options for the development. There was also a second case in front of the Conservation Board, Welcome Homes. A number of neighbors attended that to voice their concerns about a chosen home location there and potential confusion around lot lines. And there's also the Conservation Board requested copies of the septic tank approval by the county, as it's located on a very steep slope. They will conduct a site visit. And then finally, there were some residents at 529 Route 9D that unknowingly and mistakenly undertook some work in a wetlands area, and so the Conservation Board just said it's always better to confirm on the wetlands map before doing some work, and so there will be a site visit as well to look at that work. The next meeting is on next Tuesday, this upcoming Tuesday, October 11th at 7:30 p.m.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. Recreation.
Good evening. Recreation met on September 13th and had a meeting with the Philipstown Little League regarding softball fields for the 85 girls who play softball who are in the league. And they subsequently met with a subcommittee that the Recreation Commission set up to discuss the issue. And it's hopeful, I'm hopeful and optimistic. I certainly hope they find a place for the girls to play softball. The Recreation Department also has a new director, as you know, and has honored Amber Stickle with a farewell, but she's still in town and still involved in serving our community. So We are proud of the team at the rec center and their continued efforts to provide the programming for our children and our seniors. The fall program is in full swing, and the Little Kickers, and the basketball is starting up soon, so the soccer and basketball and the programs for seniors, and the senior luncheons will resume. There is a senior luncheon in November, so we're excited about that before Thanksgiving.
Fantastic.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're all set. And we did come up with a field location. I met with a group, and Megan, Amber, Maggie, who else was there? Claudio, we had a couple commission members.
Taylor, and we have a field, we have a location, and we are working with some of the local guys, I guess you can say, to help get the best location within that. Sorry, thanks, C. So we're working with some local contractors to help get the best location for the specific field and where it will be located. It will be located at the Philipstown Park, where a lot of our kids play soccer at the moment, and football and lacrosse. And now in the back left field, we'll also be adding a softball field. So it's wonderful for the community and for all the young girls within the community to have a place to play that they can call their own.
Absolutely.
Thank you, John and Judy, for everything that you've done with that.
Thank you.
And Claudio.
Okay, that's it for recreation. Philipstown Hub.
The Philipstown Hub is honored to be included in the Community Needs Survey with Jason Angell, and I think Jason's on the agenda to speak about that later this evening. The Philipstown Hub Executive Director also reports that care coordinators served 54 people in the month of September. That was complex case management, and they had 10 new cases. The total number of contacts was 429, which is significant. And the total for the fiscal year to date, which is from July to September 2022, is 1,117 people who have had contact with the Philipstown Hub. So those are pretty impressive numbers. We thank the Hub for their service to our community.
That's quite a volume.
Yes.
Unfortunately. Okay, thank you, Judy. Planning Board.
Planning Board. I attended the September Planning Board meeting. It was a pretty light agenda, which is unusual. Anyway, there was correspondence between 3622 Route 9 in Cold Spring. The letter, Sally Engineers requesting a sign off of the site plans. That was been approved. We had a public hearing of the Kingsley Tree and Landscape Business that's looking to build a 80 by 40 building off of Albany Post Road. It's been through the Planning Board about 3 or 4 months now. We had a public hearing this past month. There was 9 citizens that came to speak on the public hearing. All 9 citizens were in favor of this project, but they did have one concern. The only concern that they had was where the entrance is going to be. So right now, the current entrance is the intersection of Mountain Brook Road and where they want to put the driveway in as well. This was sent over to our highway superintendent, Adam Hoteling. He met Ron Gaynor up there as well about a week or so ago, and we got a report back from Adam, our supervisor, superintendent of highways, and he recommends staying the intersections, keeping the entrance where it is currently today. He thought if they moved it down a little bit, it's just going to cause a little bit more people. There's more entrances onto the road. Right now, that's kind of like it would be almost like a intersection, where it come almost like a T almost basically it would be. So that hasn't been decided yet, but that's what they're requesting. So the public hearing was closed, but everyone seemed to be in favor of this project. Other thing on the agenda was the Garrison Golf Course, which has been on in here now for well over a year. Just so everyone knows that the tent that they originally planned for is going to stay where it is permanent right now, but they're going to change it to a wood and timber structure, and they're changing the color so it's not white that's so noticeable. It's kind of like a grayish color they're going to be. I couldn't, like an opaque maybe it is. But anyway, that was one thing they're going to change. And as you know, they changed a lot of different things. They're not going to have the hotel anymore. They're not going to have the indoor theater to request it. So anyway, all those things were in. And also proposing not to build a bridge down to Snake Hill Road. That is right now is off their docket as well. But they need to shore up the entrance of that's currently there today on Snake Hill Road, the dam entrance there. What they're thinking about doing possibly is making it one way on the way in and then one way on the way out, so it's only one-way traffic. So that's a couple other changes they need to do. So right now, that's it. The next steps, we'll have a scoping session, which is scheduled for a couple of weeks. And the next meeting will be October 20th. And the meeting was adjourned at 9:10. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Zoning.
Hi, good evening. Thank you all for coming. For zoning, our meeting was held on October 3rd, and the approval for September minutes was completed, and they had 3 correspondence and public hearings. So the first public hearing that the zoning board approved was an 8-foot fence at 69 Highview Terrace. He was seeking the variance, and the zoning board went ahead and approved that. For the second one, it was Erica Whitman at 14 Howland. She also was approved, the variance for her addition. And finally, at 41 Hudson Ridge in Garrison, the board approved the special use permit for an accessory apartment over the existing garage. They're just waiting on the Putnam County Health Department in order to go ahead and get the full permit, and so the zoning board grant them the special permit. It was pretty light. The meeting was adjourned by 8 o'clock, and our next meeting is November 1st, and all public hearings from October are closed. So, thank you.
Thank you. Highway.
Highway, submitted by our superintendent, Adam Hotelling. Work performed for the Philipstown Highway Department for the month of September. The highway crews continue to clean catch basins, pipes, curbing, and potholing, grading, and sweeping along the roads. In between fixing the trucks and moving into the new garage, so you know, we moved all of our equipment that we were currently renting down in Whoville, over here in Nelsonville, to our new garage up on Fishkill Road. The garage is not 100% completed yet, but we had to get out of where we were, but it was significantly completed, so we could use at least one of the bays that we have. So they were, in that last month, they were moving a lot of equipment out of Nelsonville up to the street as well. And they're also preparing, I know it sounds a little early, but they're also preparing for snow, for everything, to get the trucks ready and plows and everything like that. So we were very deeply saddened to hear the tragic death of a Yorktown Highway Department employee, Jake Arcara, who was hit by a car while working on the road. In show of our support, our fallen brother, the Highway Department across the county sent representative trucks to be part of the funeral procession, which is an emotional experience for the whole lieutenant. We can't stress enough the importance of the safety of our crews. Please drive slow and be considerate when you come to a construction zone, please. As you know, if you do get in construction zones all over the state here, if you do get a ticket in construction zone, the fines are doubled. So it's very important to look out for anyone that's in the construction zone. It's, you know, even though you're going slow, you got to look what's going on, because unfortunately, a young kid like this got killed, and we don't want to see that happen to any one of our employees or any other employee that's on the road here. Manitou Station Road was almost completed. We're waiting to install the guardrails. It should be completed by the end of October. New garage update, like I said, we're just getting the equipment out of there and up to the new building. The new building, as I said, we're in the bays, but the actual office space won't be ready until the end of October, first week of November. Highway Department received approximately 25 phone calls or emails. For the month of September, the Highway Department spent approximately $22,000 on vehicle maintenance. The majority of that number includes a $15,000 repair of an HO pen to fix the excavator. Adam Hotelling, Highway and Superintendent.
Okay, that's it. Building and land acquisitions, as Bobby mentioned, we finally have occupied the bays of our new highway facility. We were renting 2 garages in Nelsonville. That was a month-to-month lease at this point, so the end of September, we had put our foot down. We're going into the new building, so it's not 100%, it's close, but we were able to occupy it. The mechanics are up there, the equipment's in there, in and out during the day. They have to move sometimes, but it is functioning, so it's good to be back in the building, I'm sure. The office is the end of October, early November, and then the trailer that's out front can be removed, and all the other trailers, the storage trailers, will go. So.
And it's double trailer we have currently with
for the men as well.
We'll be able to go. Oh, just what I was talking about, I do have the internet access installed up there.
We do have.
That's there.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to take any chances, just because it takes some time to get, but that's there and it's tested. It's all ready to go. So when the time comes, we just need to move all the equipment from the trailer over. So it's ready to go.
Thank you, Bob. Cemetery Committee.
Okay, so the cemetery committee, I spoke with the gentleman Taggart, who oversees the cemeteries and does all the stonework, and he sent a proposal to the town board in the amount of $2,750. We're going to be reviewing that, and once we get that approved, he then can go ahead and remain, continuing working on the stones right here on Matin Avenue, and it also allows us to start the proposal and the time frame for the cemetery at the corner of 301 and Route 9. So once we review the proposal that was sent, he can go ahead and start continuing to work on the stonework here, and he's doing a great job. And it's not to exceed that $2,750, and it should take place relatively soon, so he can wrap up by at the time the weather changes. So that's all we got.
Thank you, Megan.
Yeah.
Putnam County Legislator, I know Legislator Montgomery is occupied at a county meeting this evening, so we'll get an extra special report next month from her. So, all right, so let's move on to the agenda.
First is a resolution accepting the resignation of DJ Baker from the Philipstown Conservation Board effective immediately.
Okay, so we all know him as Jan. Jan spent, he's got to be on there 7 years, 6-7 years on the Conservation Board. Unfortunately, due to a medical situation at home, he's no longer able to attend public meetings, so he's stepped down. Great part, very even-keeled, good man. I appreciate the service he's given us for, it's got to be 6 or 7 years, somewhere in that area.
He started when I was the secretary over there, so maybe like 5 years.
5, okay. Well, thank you anyway. So can I get a motion to accept the resignation from Jan Baker from the Conservation Board?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Tony Bardes to the Philipstown Conservation Board to fill the vacancy left by Krystal Ford.
So when Krystal left, we advertised for an opening on the Conservation Board, and we had a couple applicants apply. So fortunately enough, we had 3 applicants apply, and we selected 2. So Tony will be filling Krystal's position. Tony interviewed, Jason and I and Bobby interviewed him. He did very well in the interview. He's very well qualified. Serves on several different conservation committees within the village and the town. So I thoroughly support. Bob, Jason, anything?
No, I totally agree.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Can I get a motion to appoint Tony Bardes to the Conservation Board, filling the vacancy left by Krystal Ford?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Madeleine Rae to the Philipstown Conservation Board to fill the vacancy left by DJ Baker.
Lo and behold, Madeleine's here today. So, as always, when we have vacancies on these boards, we get qualified people to step up. We had 3 very qualified. Luckily, we had 2 spots. So, and Madeleine, welcome aboard. We have to pass the resolution first, but welcome. I'm sure you'll do wonderful and be a great asset to the Conservation Board. And I appreciate you stepping up and getting involved. So can I get a motion to appoint Madeleine Rae to the Philipstown Conservation Board, filling the vacancy that we just created with Jan's resignation?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank anyone that comes forward to get on our boards. It's, you spend a lot of time, and it's very encouraging that we get people to volunteer for each position.
Very qualified people,
So
which is
I
important.
appreciate everyone's effort every time that we have an opening.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is a resolution approving the purchase of an Intimidator 15 XP 15-inch drum-style brush Bandit for the Philipstown Highway Department in the amount of $68,341.60 and authorizing Supervisor Van Tassel to sign said purchase agreement.
I just like the name of it.
I was just going to say
I think we should just buy it for the big.
So I'm just a little confused. It's a purchase because it says rental
Yes,
here.
yeah, that was my mistake. I fixed it in, yeah.
fixed it
When I was looking at it earlier,
All right.
well, Steve
Okay.
actually
That's what I
pointed
thought.
it
I just
out.
wanted to
that
make
it
sure.
was
It's a purchase. So we're
Yes,
buying,
it's a purchase agreement,
All
not
right,
a
great.
rental.
I'm happy. I'm good with that.
we're
to
buying the
clarify.
Intimidator.
Yes, it's not $68,000.
So this
to
is
rent.
something that we normally either rent and or borrow from a neighboring community. It is part of the budget, so I'm supportive of it. They take very good care of our equipment. and it'll last us a long time. So I do support this. So can I get a motion for the board to approve the purchase of a Intimidator 15 XP 15-inch drum style brush bandit for the highway department?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote
I
aye.
think this is very similar to the machine that's up on the end of Fishkill Road by the firehouse. It's probably something very similar to
No,
that.
this is a chipper.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a
chipper,
chipper?
yeah,
Oh,
it's a
okay.
chipper,
All right, sorry, my mistake.
That's my understanding of it.
Yep, okay.
Okay.
Next is a resolution accepting the bid of Intercounty Paving and awarding the contract on the project to Intercounty Paving and authorizing Supervisor Van Tassel to execute all documents necessary to enter and execute the said contract, and this is for Lanegate Road.
So this is a problem area of Lanegate Road that has been chronically washing out. We've had several of the residents that live on Lanegate in this section come to us for a number of years looking to get the pavement extended. So there is not going to be, people always have the fear it's going to become a commuter route because there's pavement from end to end. It's not. There's going to be pavement, dirt, pavement, and dirt. So I believe it's a half-mile section, a little under a half-a-mile section, which includes Lanegate Heights to just up the hill by Eden, where it used to be Eden Park. I don't know what it's even called at this point, but it is a steep turning area that is continuously washing out. So this is also a budget item that's within the Highway Department budget for paving this year. It was a state bid. So I am supporting this piece of pavement going in to improve the durability and the washing out of Lanegate Road. So anybody have any comments, board?
I think it's a wise decision as well. I mean, as you know, dirt roads are very hard to maintain. Constantly washing out. This section that we just discussed is a pretty steep slope coming down there from Shad Road down to the bottom of the road. So I think this is the right thing to do.
We've heard from a number of constituents about this,
Yeah,
so it's,
several
yes, several residents, so it's the right thing.
I've only got one question. I guess it's related. The town, I was thinking about it, the town passed a complete streets policy a year or two ago, and it just means that when local road improvements are made, there's a consideration of if the roads the safety for them can be improved for walkers or bikers. And I think it's a good conversation to have at some point about how we incorporate that complete streets policy into road improvement projects. I know some towns will have just a checklist and they'll see if those sorts of things can be incorporated, but, with this sort of
There are a few walkers on that road. I
Yeah.
know, I've seen a few of them. Yeah. I don't know I doubt there's any way, but I understand what you're saying. But in this situation, the possibility of widening or creating a bike path would really be impossible the way the road is built.
Unfortunately, yeah.
It's so narrow.
But I think that's a good point, Jason, to bring up in the future. Yeah.
All right, so could I get a motion for me to sign this contract?
So moved.
Second.
Second,
Okay, roll call vote. Councilwoman Farrell.
I vote aye.
Councilman Angell.
I vote aye. I would like to just make one other point because this is such a paving is always, I know, a very controversial issue in Philipstown, and somewhere down the line, finding out. I know we've had some residents come forward and talk about wanting to pave, but I think having some way to gauge how other residents feel, not for this project, about paving versus not paving would be an improvement. But I do vote aye on this. Yeah.
And just to clarify, I did speak with Terry Zaleski from the Old Road Society before we addressed this. He understood the situation. I did give him the courtesy to reach out to him. He didn't say he supported it or rejected it. I said, the residents are in support of it that live there. So, and I've heard no more from them about it. So, but just if that makes you feel. So, Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cotter.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign the payment processing services statement of work associated with the collection of tax payments between the town and Value Payment Systems LLC. So I don't know if you remember me bringing this up a while back, saying I wanted to go through it, and I went back and forth with it about Kelly. But it's essentially the tax system that we use, the software that we use. This is their payment system associated with the software we already have. So I feel like it just makes sense. And if you looked at it, they're waiving a lot of the
Fees.
So I just feel like it's, it would all be under one roof.
And this
then,
gives everyone the ability to pay online with a credit card?
It would be credit card, and also, from what I understand reading this, it would add the ability to pay with like a check online and stuff, which I actually had several questions about this past tax season, so.
We got some time
But
to
yeah,
work
debit
it
cards,
out.
credit cards, e-check, so, yeah.
Yeah, I see
But
that.
I mean, they're about to do the upgrade with the system, so we're coming up on tax season. Sorry.
Maybe here before you know it.
Don't say that.
I know.
Just paid the school taxes.
Hey, I have nothing to do with school tax.
Oh, I know, I'm just saying.
Oh, the pain.
Alrighty, so can I get a motion to the town board to authorize supervisor to sign the payment processing services statement of work associated with the collection of tax payments between the town of Philipstown and Value Payment System LLC?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution introducing a proposed local law to change the zoning designation of certain real property from industrial manufacturing to rural residential and scheduling the public hearing.
Is anybody here from, I don't see anybody. Oh, you are, okay. How are you?
To the mic first. Hi, I'm very good. How are you? My name is Drew Gambles. I'm here from Keen and Bean on behalf of the applicant. I'm also here with Margaret McManus from Beatty and Watson's office.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, so I know we're here for, we have two items on the agenda this evening, but this first one is for our zone change request to rezone 11.1 acres from M zoning to rural residential. And that's for purposes of the overall subdivision, which was part of the planning board's review that we've gone through over the past couple years.
Right, so last month we had a lengthy discussion and a description. We had maps up.
I do have maps, but I didn't know if you wanted them for this
I
one.
don't think, is anybody like to see the map? We can put the map back up.
No.
I think
Hasn't
we're okay.
changed.
So it's basically taking 11 acres that's closer to the road, that's part of your overall equation of property, switching it from the M zoning, switching it to rural residential, which eliminates the ability of any M qualities to happen in that 11 acre section, which is closer to Route 9. I looked through all the maps that came with the road change as well. So, and it really lays it out as to where it is and what the process is. I understand, Jason, you had made a point last month that, it does, stepping back, it does add to your total equation, which also allows you 2 more building lots on the property. But it takes the 11 acres that's closest to Clove Creek away from ever being in the M zone.
That is correct
So,
as well.
and if you were to take that 2 building lots out of the equation, I think we would all jump on this opportunity to take the property away from any risk of, which included soil mining, which was part of that. And then there's a list of other things that we probably wouldn't want happening. And Jason made a great point that, if these lots are developed, that more than likely your development group, your homeowner association would never allow something like that to happen. It doesn't seem like it would work with your development. The other point that I thought of since that is the success of the development really would depend on, if the houses sell. I mean, there's a whole lot to go into this, but if it were to fail, and I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but if it were to fail, the option to develop this as an M zoning area would be there if we don't do this zoning change.
That is correct.
That is correct.
Yes.
So not saying I'm forecasting, but if in fact the homes didn't sell and the lots don't, they don't develop, there is that risk. If we change this now, yes, you'll get 2 more building lots out of the equation, but that will never go back to being a soil mine, ever. That can't happen. So that was just something that I thought of, and I think it's important because who knows what the economy is going to produce in the next 5 to 10 years if you get the rest of the approval. But that was what made me think that this is a sensible change, that it's going to permanently protect the Clove Creek, the ability of not having a soil mine in that community. So I am in support of transferring the property over to the RR district. So
I just have a question about it, because I think the 2 lots, there is the intention to build on them. Is that the intention?
Yes, and they were actually part of the planning board's review. So the project went through the planning board as a 24-lot subdivision, which is what we would only be permitted to do if the 11.1 acres is rezoned to RR. But it was already reviewed. The layout, has already been proposed. So it's not adding 2 more additionally to what has already been put out there. It'd be taking 2 away to a 22-lot. But yes, the goal would be to develop those lots.
and there's 2 homes already exist.
2 homes already exist,
Right.
correct.
So
Are there any public benefits or goods? I know in other developments on Route 9, they built a public park or amenities. Is there anything planned for the development? in that
Well,
regard?
out of all the property that is part of this subdivision, 180 acres is going to be part of a conservation easement, which means that land will be permanently preserved and protected, and no development will happen on 180 acres in this subdivision. And I think that's a huge public benefit to preserving, our natural environment.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think what Judy's asking is like, for example, off of Route 9, they gave a bunch of property back to the town. We have the dog park up there, and there's no things in your overall plan now that gives a piece of property to the town to use as a park or anything like that at this particular time, right?
No, that's not, no public
No.
parks, but
No.
again, you'll be able to hike back there and walk and maintain it as just natural trails.
Yeah, I'm in favor of this too. I've been on the planning board going to these meetings for like 6 years now, so I also like to say, I think they gave a lot of concessions back from the beginning here, the horses and everything, the 40 stable horses and all that type of stuff, that's came off the map. So, yeah, I'm in favor of this as well.
Right, the equestrian center, as you're
Equestrian
referring
center,
to,
right,
is not part of the subdivision at this time. It was eliminated, but in earlier renditions of the plans, if you go back and look at what it was originally, there was the equestrian center, which has been completely eliminated after thorough discussion with the planning board.
And they moved a few houses a little bit further away from the pond
Yep,
and so forth.
that was
like
another
So,
huge
there's-
concession.
I think they've been doing a pretty good job working with the planning board and coming with the suggestions, and there's gives and takes and everything. Well, especially a major project like this. So, again, I think it's the right thing to do.
I know that this project's been in front of the planning board for a very long time, and that discussion we had last workshop was really, really helpful. I think I respectfully disagree. I'm not in favor of the zoning modification for a couple of reasons. I think one, because that 11.1 acres, that access road can still be built there regardless of if the zoning was changed or not. Two, I really felt like that discussion about what could happen in that industrial zone, such as adult entertainment that was brought up last workshop, would never be put there, like John said, because you all own that property. And I think that mostly I'm kind of not in favor of it because having a group that's gonna personally benefit from adding those 2 homes request the zoning modification, and then for us to do it at that time doesn't really feel right. I know that the board could always change that zoning at a later date after the development was built to take care of those issues. that Supervisor Van Tassel brought up, and I know that there's another parcel in the development that also is commercially zoned currently. I think it's parcel 6, and there isn't any proposal to change that zoning at this time from this group. So just for all those reasons, I think that it would reduce it would mean 2 less houses. And I know there's a lot of people on East Mountain Road and the areas. It's a big development, and so I'm not in favor of making that zoning change at this time. Yes.
Meg?
Sorry, I've had limited time to catch up on 8 years of you guys. Just talking to John and Bob and Judy, even I am in agreement with this proposal. Like I said, I have a lot to catch up on regarding everything in the last 8 years. I think it is going to be a great improvement. Like John said, that soil mine, I can't really wrap my head, especially raising the children here. Once we go ahead and we pass it, and just real quick, that what was the acreage for the conservation acreage that you were just
180.
180. Now, in the future, could there be any discussion of maybe you shake your head? Yeah. She's like, no.
It's going to be permanently protected by a conservation easement that's going to be held by another entity, not
necessarily you guys.
Nope, not us at all. Definitely, we have to give it to a conservation organization to hold. And
is there any other acreage within the land that you guys will be able to hold that you might be able to give back to the community?
Well, the only part that's left is specifically for, we've just carved out the individual 1 acre lots.
Okay.
And whatever we need for like the septic area and the roadways, only necessities. Okay. Everything else that we could possibly give back and protect, I shouldn't say give back, but protect is being protected. And we've tried to maximize that to as much as possible.
But the community will be able to use all that acreage to, like you said, go hiking. There's your trails, Jason.
Always love more trails, Megan. Always love more trails.
Conservation easement that will lay out what's permitted in that area and what's not permitted.
Great.
I think at one point there was talk about when we had the equestrian center, will there be horse trails? There will no equestrian center, really no need for horse trails, so that would not be in the conservation easement. And so that will be reviewed by the planning board. It'll, those rules will be set forth and be clear, and it'll be very difficult to change, and it won't be the developer's role to change it at all.
Okay.
He doesn't hold the conservation easement.
The total acreage, again, is the total acreage that you guys own?
250.
What is it?
250.
260 and 180 is being preserved. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, I will be halfway there. I'm halfway to the catch.
Have any questions?
I will, for sure. Thank you so much.
Sure, absolutely.
That parcel 6 that's currently commercially zoned, is there also plans to try to change that zoning? I know part of the argument was that it's not consistent with the comprehensive plan to have something commercially zoned or industrial zoned next to a residential development. Why aren't there those plans as well to change that parcel 6 commercial zoning?
Right, so there's no change. We didn't see that one as much as an impact to the subdivision as the 11.1 acres zoned for manufacturing. It also wasn't impactful on our lot calculations as well, so it's not proposed for rezoning at this time. We've been through a lot with the planning board, and so we're just trying to minimize our appearances before, just do what's necessary to move our application forward. And rezoning that other lot is not necessary at this time.
So when you say it's not impactful for our lot size allocation, you mean changing the zoning on that parcel 6 wouldn't have added 2 additional lots to
Correct.
So that's why.
That's also developed already, the commercial part.
And it also has buildings on it where, there's no plans to take it down. Again, we don't want to, changing that development, taking down that building is going to have additional environmental impacts. We don't want any more impacts. We really just want to get the subdivision done with the least impactful way as we can.
I believe that's where the entrance is going to be too, right?
On the M lot, yes. And we can talk more about that with the alternate road standards, but that's exactly where the entrance will be.
All right, Steve, you have? anything?
Well, you have before you a resolution introducing a local law which would change the zoning of the lot at issue from M to RR. If you adopt this resolution and pick a date for the public hearing, you'll begin that process. There'll have to be a referral to county planning. There'll be a referral to the planning board. We'll report back to you on the proposed zoning change. You'll hold your public hearing, then you make a determination as to whether or not to adopt this local law.
So simply, we're passing a resolution to introduce the law.
Introduce it, set a public hearing on it, and get the referrals out as far as that goes.
All right, so can I get a motion introducing this zoning change?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, it's a roll call, I'm sorry. Councilwoman Farrell.
I vote aye.
Councilman Angell.
I vote nay.
Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cotter, I'm sorry.
Aye.
And I vote aye. So it carries 4-1. Thank you.
Yeah, when do you want it for the next meeting, the public hearing? When do you want to do
See, it
that?
says November blank.
The date of our next regular monthly meeting is November 3rd. I don't know if you want to do it that night or if you want to do it a separate night.
It's plenty of time to get the notice in the paper and everything. I mean,
Yeah,
if
we
you
have
want
enough
it.
time?
I have plenty of time. I mean, it's up to you if you
All
want
right,
to do it.
then let's do it.
Let's get it done.
So it's November 3rd.
Public hearing. Okay.
So we'll set that for 7 PM, the public hearing?
Want to do it before the regular?
Yeah, before the,
7 p.m.?
yep.
Would that be a referral to the October 20th planning board meeting?
Probably not. because
no.
the agenda's already
Oh,
set.
that's
No,
right. It's
no.
October.
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
whatever the date is.
Oh, don't know where the time went. Got it. So no.
Our meeting is, I think, the 20th.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, it can't be
That's
done
what it is,
before then.
yeah.
So why don't we bring item 9 up right now, now that you're still up here anyway, and then we'll go back to the other one. Excuse me.
Where they begin as far as that goes. When someone is building a road in the town of Philipstown, whether it's to be in a private development or it's for dedication to the town code sets forth road standards to which the road must be built. And that's found in code section 150-19. It says how wide the right-of-way has to be and minimum grade and so forth and so on. There's a provision in code section 150-16 that allows for alternate standards to be approved by the town board. What they mean by alternate standards is if someone either can't or is having a very difficult time meeting the particular mathematical specifications set forth for a road in the town code, they can ask for basically a variance. They could say, hey, I can't quite get that grade, I can't quite get that width, whatever it may be. And there's a criteria that the town board has to look at on these applications, which, you make a determination, either they've met it and you're gonna give them the alternate standard, or they haven't met it, in which case you're not gonna give them the alternate standard. I'll jump into the procedure on this real quick, and then we'll get back to their application. So what happens is an application is submitted to the board. It's got to be the full plans as is set forth before the planning board and the CEQA review as well. And the town board then refers it to at least the planning board for review and comment. And you have the option to also refer it to your engineering consultant. It's just good practice to refer it to your engineering consultant. Why wouldn't you? It's probably going to do it as part of the referral to the planning board anyway, but to have it out there separately is like I say, just makes things clearer. You will then get reports back from the planning board and the engineer. Once you have them back, you will set a public hearing on the application. Unlike zoning, which is legislative, this is administrative, so you can't say you don't want to hold the public hearing. When there's an application that comes in, you have to hold the public hearing. So you'll have your reports, you'll hold your public hearing, you'll review the criteria, which you'll have memos on from the planning board and your engineer, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have in regard to that. And then you'll adopt a resolution either granting or not granting the request for the alternate standards. In this case, and I'll let them speak to it more clearly, I think they want to have a road grade of 12%, and 10 is the maximum allowed under the code, and they'll explain to you why they want to do that. So that's the procedure. There are two other things to mention. One is that the code says that in regard to this application, the town board is to set a fee. They don't say what the fee is. It's an ad hoc fee, and you can change the fee during the course of the application. The idea behind the fee is that it recompenses the board for the time, the attorney's fees, other things. You think that they would just set an escrow and let you draw on it, but that's not what your code does. It says you're going to set a fee. So I'm going to consult with the engineer and the planning board and the applicant, and I will come back to the board with a recommended number for the fee. When you set the public hearing, you might as well just set the fee then. And the other thing is they have to pay, if you refer to an engineer, the engineer's expenses. The town doesn't get your engineer's expenses, right? You could establish a separate escrow to be drawn on and make them deposit $5,000 or whatever it is. They already have an escrow in front of the planning board, and if they're agreeable to that, you can just charge your engineering fees to the planning board escrow. You don't have
For
to
6 years, there's been an escrow.
Yeah, we're very familiar with our planning board escrow, and that wouldn't be a problem.
You're all right with that then? Great. All right, so that takes care of that issue. So what you should do tonight is listen to their application and then just adopt a resolution referring it to the planning board and the engineer. And that's all you need to do tonight. Then you wait until you hear back from them. I'll work with Tara to make sure that the proper referral documents go out.
That's good. All right, thank you, Steve. You're on.
So this is for the, as Steve said, this is for the alternate road standards where the maximum is 10% grade. We are seeking 12% grade. And the reason for that is because the area, okay, so the reason for that is because where we have our proposed entranceway is extremely steep. If you were to stick with the 10% grade, the road would never make it to the top of the hill, not really a mountain, but the top of the steep incline. It would just kind of take at 10% grade. It would just end up going through. If you kept it at 10% grade, the amount of blasting and disruption you would need to the environment would just, it's not practical, it's not good. So a 12% grade would allow us to get up to the top of that hill at a more practical disturbance and it just be more reasonable. And 10% grade is just not, it's not going to work. We've also explored alternatives at Horton Road and East Mountain Road, but those, if you review our finding statement with the planning board, those are not preferable. The entrance we want and the planning board prefers is through Route 9. So we do have to deal with this steep incline right here. And it's only a 12% grade to get over this hill. Once we're over it and into the rest of the subdivision, we can maintain, under 10% grade. It's just to get to the top here.
Do we have an estimated length of how far you're at 12%?
So this is a profile which I tried to make darker. I know it's not coming up. This is Route 9, and then this is the top of the hill, and it's about 1,500 feet. 1,500 feet.
It looks like it comes in. So what's the distance there where you're exceeding the 10% total?
Well, it's about from here to here, let's say 5, maybe 1,000 feet.
1,000 feet.
And a 12% grade is not a steep. It's not a steep grade. It's not. Like many driveways are 15 to 17%, and roads in Peekskill are 20%.
Right. I'm just trying to. I want to say Esselborn is like 17 or 18%.
Yes. Yeah.
It's got to be up there. So it's 1,000 feet. That's going to violate the 10%, somewhere in that area.
Yes.
Approximately. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, and even though you can build it at 10%, what you do is you end up having more cut and more fill and more walls and more impact. So by alleviating and allowing to go from the 10 to the 12%, you actually decrease the amount of impact on the environment.
And this, I believe I read in here, it will be referred to the North Islands Fire Department for their approval as well. It's all part of the planning board process. So, and they have roads that are much steeper that they're currently going up.
And all of the other standards are met. The width, the grade, other than the grade, the width, the radiuses, everything that is required.
What kind of material is this road gonna be made if it's gonna be?
It'll be paved. We're paving.
Is this 12%, is it just for that section, like John was saying, and then it goes back to the 10%? Okay, I just want to be clear.
Yes, within the rest of the subdivision, it's a maximum of 10%.
Back to 10, okay.
Yeah.
Just to get over.
And there's,
Just to get over that hump.
yes,
Okay,
and there's
just wanna
plenty
be
of
clear.
places where it's much less than 10%.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Question? No? Okay, so Steve, we just got to pass a resolution? and
Yeah,
refer
just
it to
ask
planning?
for a motion to refer it to the planning board and to the town's engineering consultant for a review and report.
Okay, so can we get a motion to refer this to the planning board and the town engineer for further review?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye. Thank you. Appreciate it. What's that?
I did.
Seconded.
I seconded.
All righty, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. We're going back to 8 now, Terry.
A resolution authorizing the purchase of a new town hall, Town of Philipstown sign for the front of the building from Signs, Inc. in the amount of $2,350.
Okay, so one of the last pieces of the puzzle to finish the building, at least the outside of it, is a sign, because we get a lot of people that don't really know that this is Town Hall. So the sign that was on there, we were going to replicate, and we sent pictures of it to the Village of Cold Spring HDRB, and they suggested a copper plate Gothic font, I guess you would call it. So that's what we're going with. We have some pictures of what it's going to look like.
It's copper?
This is, no, it's not, that's just the name of the
Oh, okay.
lettering.
Yeah, so
Copper,
what's it-
I'm sure they're available, you guys can see them again.
That's just what's gonna look.
So it's really a plain block letter, which they feel is more, which they feel is more authentic to the building than what was up there. So I'm certainly not going to go in opposition of the Historic Review Board. So we have a price tag from Signs, Inc. to do the sign and install it at $2,350. So could I get a motion?
Oh, just got one
Yes,
question.
yes,
Is
sir.
this raised lettering at all?
Yes, 1 inch thick. It's in the description there.
It says 1 inch thick. I
Yeah.
don't know if,
Pin mounted.
Pin mounted.
Yeah,
with
so they're
spacers,
mounted
yeah.
on like screws, the lettering.
I'm fine.
Any other questions on it?
I would trust the historic review.
Yes.
Judge
And listen,
on
if
that.
we're not going to abide by it, then who would, right? So it was a courtesy. We sent it to them, and then this is what we got. So I'm happy to go with it. So can I get a motion approving the purchase and installation of the sign by Signs, Inc. for $2,350?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a discussion regarding the proposed flag policies.
Okay, so we've been discussing this for, I think this is the 4th month at this point. We've asked our attorney, Mr. Gabbett, to produce a couple different variables of how, or, what we wanted for the law or the rule to be. I am very clear on where I have been, and it's not changed since the first discussion. To me, it's the American flag, which would be the version, I think it's the 3rd version, Steve. It's strictly the...
It's just a resolution, there's no policy attached to it.
Right, the American flag, the New York State flag, if we were to fly one, the POW MIA flag, and the flag of the town of Philipstown, if we ever had one. But that's where I stand. That's where I'm going to continue to stand. So I'll open it up to discussion from everybody else.
I agree with John. Everybody knows how I stand on that too, and I'm in support of John. The American flag and the POW flag is what should be flown here at this municipal building here in Philipstown.
I'm in support of the position that we took in June during Gay Pride Month to fly the pride flag. I think it represents freedom from hate and discrimination. It represents the freedom for people to love whom they love, and love is love is love. It has already been flown here at Town Hall on a display pole, not on the flagpole, with the American flag, and it's been flown on federal buildings, state buildings, and municipal government buildings across the United States and across the world. So I would support the resolution. That includes a flag that we've already flown at Town Hall.
And just that one?
Yes.
So the American flag and the gay pride, and that's the end of it?
And the New York, the POW,
The ones we've listed,
yes, the one you
plus
listed.
the gay pride, okay.
Last month, we did have some public comment as well, which that's what I kind of was on the fence of until we got some public comment. And I don't know if there's any other public comment today. I think we're at that point to get to that point. But the public comment we had last month was in favor of what you just discussed, the American flag, POW flag, and that's what we had. That was the only public comment we had, which I'm in favor to as well, but I just wanted to understand what the public had to say before I made my total decision.
And again, I have no opposition to the pride flag or to, I'm sure there's a number of flags that would be wonderful to fly, but I feel that it just opens a can of worms that we don't want to get into. I'm already overwhelmed with work, and frankly, I don't want any additional work. So I think it's very easy to keep what we have and fly proudly. And again, I have no opposition, no hate for any group. It's just the amount of workload that I think if we open it up to one, it's going to be a continuous conversation as to who else are we adding. So that's
I respectfully disagree, because we did in June, and I didn't get any communication that it was a problem for the public. In fact, I heard from people that were happy to see it displayed. So, there are constituents too, and there was a constituent who actually came to the town board meeting in favor of it. So,
but we do have other flags that were requested. We did put a moratorium on it, but I still have another one in the office that was requested, which was denied because we had put a moratorium on it. So if we can't limit it to the pride flag.
That I agree with. We just can't limit it to just one other flag.
It's
just
disrespect or hatred to the
Yeah.
pride flag. It's just a can of worms that I can't.
I mean, if you open it up to one, you got to entertain others. That's all.
Other communities are doing it, so I just respectfully disagree. That's.
I think I also, we've talked about it a lot, and I've actually, gone back and forth about it, and I think I lean now towards, not only the pride flag, but, of these two options that Council Gaba put in front of us, one of them that was just the U.S. flag, the POW flag, the New York State flag, and the pride flag. The second was, the U.S. flag, the state flag, but also only flags recognized by the U.S. through an act of Congress or a presidential proclamation, or flags nationally or internationally recognized as a national month of observance. I think I lean towards that one. I know Supervisor Van Tassel will probably say if that happens, you're going to be on the flag committee. But I do think that moving towards, I guess, letting the community express what sorts of flags on the smaller flagpole they support and feel strongly about, I'm in favor of. And I do think that if it does open up, and I think it's a real concern Supervisor Van Tassel's raised, if it does open up a gigantic can of worms that ends up tearing people apart more than allowing people to come together, then I would support revisiting that policy and moving towards limiting it, like you said.
Steve, would you have anything you'd like to add? Or?
Well, if I've gone over it before, I'll give you to in a nutshell once again here. The concern that I had when the flag issue came up was the creating an open forum for members of the public to request flags be flown at Town Hall. And you got around the issue of the flagpole, you had the display flagpole, so that made things a little better, but I mean, there's still the question of if you're going to have groups with widely divergent views asking their flags be flown, and that could lead to problems. So Judy pointed out that it isn't just a choice between an open forum and flying no flags but the American flag. There's a middle ground on which the town board would fly only flags that the town board decided to fly. In other words, you aren't taking requests. This would have to be, you've decided these are the flags you're going to fly, and you'd usually do that by having a list and not adding to the list, or at least not adding to the list regularly. If you start adding to the list, you start inching closer and closer to creating an open First Amendment protected public forum, and that puts you right back to the problem you started out with. So what the board is faced with at this point is basically three choices. Choice number, I'll call it number one, in no particular order, is we're only going to fly the American flag, the New York State flag, the POWMII flag, and I threw in, even though I don't have a flag, in case you ever had a flag at Town Hall. Some towns do. You might want to fly that. And choice number two would be the other extreme, which is you're creating an open forum. I did limit in the open forum section to nationally recognized flags, so you don't have somebody coming along and want to fly the Oscar Mayer Wiener flag or whatever it is. And then choice number three would be the middle one that I discussed, where the board would engage in so-called government speech, that it had determined as a matter of town policy that these are the flags that will be flown at Town Hall and no others. And I created a list in there which included the pride flag, and I forget what else I put in there. There's a couple other ones. So those are your three choices. You want A, B, or C. Now you can mix and match a little bit as far as number three and number two. Number one is pretty much set in stone. You can't say we're going to fly the American flag, the POW flag, New York State, the town flag, and the pride flag. That would, now you're really leaking into option number two at that point. So if you want to say it's only state flags, that's fine. If you want to say it's open forum, you can, like I say, you can change the language I gave you there, and the same thing with the middle ground one. That's what you're looking at, and sooner or later you have to decide.
Okay, I'm gonna. Yeah, well, I want to get this over. I'm going to briefly open it to the public. I'll ask people to keep the comments very short and sweet. Thank you. Yes, Lyle. Hi.
I'm Eliza Starbuck, and I'm speaking for the record as a resident of Philipstown, not as a representative of the Village of Cold Spring. I support Philipstown adopting a policy of flags and banners flown in public spaces, which limits them to the current nationally recognized flags, the American flag, the POW flag, the New York State flag, and the Philipstown flag, provided that we ever had one. As a board, selecting other flags or banners as a form of government speech would lead to dicey territory. For example, how would you choose one flag over the other for a month like June? You mentioned the pride flag, but that's also the month of Juneteenth, and there is a flag for that. How would you make such a decision without your own personal preferences unconsciously guiding your choices? And how would you objectively decide which flags or banners are representative of the viewpoints of our entire community? Is there such a thing as a flag or a banner that represents everyone's perspective in Philipstown outside of the American flag? I don't believe that there is. Philipstown's residents are not psychologically homogenous, even if we look alike. Flying any flag or banner in a public space that represents a private group, point of view, or sector of the population automatically leaves out a multitude of others. And what one person sees as a great flag or banner, another person may find terrible. And I think it is fine to fly flags or banners of your choice on your front porch or in your yard, but I do not feel it appropriate to display one position over another in a shared public space that we all pass through daily and pay taxes to maintain. In the name of preserving solidarity within our community, between all the different types of people, perspectives, and life experiences that are present here in Philipstown's residents, I ask you to preserve and protect the neutrality of our public spaces by making a policy which will leave extra flags and banners out of them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Liza.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
I just have a question. You can hear me. I don't have to go up there.
Yeah.
You really should.
If you want to be heard.
Really small. But I know the POW flag was created by an act of Congress during or just after the Vietnam War. But is it required that all government buildings fly the POW flag?
In my heart, it is.
In your heart, in my heart, it's weird, but because we don't have any POWs.
We don't have any.
In Philipstown is what you're saying.
No, there aren't any, except the ones there aren't any.
In honor of the ones that were.
There are the ones that were. Well, that's a big, long subject. But
I'm not gonna tell
No,
the
all right.
VFW I'm taking that down. Thanks. Or I'll be a prisoner.
Never found.
Never found. Anyone else? Okay. So I would like to vote on. So it's A or B, really. So the other or C.
In regard to that, I've prepared two resolutions, okay? One resolution is got nothing attached to it, and it just says American flag. The other resolution says we're adopting the policy attached here too, and then you have to decide which policy you want to attach if you want to go with that one. So pick one of the two resolutions, and then if you want to go with the one that says the policy attached, decide which policy you want to attach.
So I would like to vote on the one resolution that keeps it strictly the American flag, the POW, the New York State, Putnam County, and the town of Philipstown, if we were to have any of those.
The last page.
That's the last
page of
The last
packet.
So I don't think I need to, do I need to read through this? Does anybody want me to read through this? I guess I can. Whereas the physical plan at the town of Philipstown Town Hall includes a large freestanding flagpole and a small flagpole attached to the exterior wall of the town hall building, and whereas the town board wishes to establish a uniform policy for the display of flags at town hall, and whereas the town's flagpoles are not intended to serve as a forum for free expression by the public, but rather for the display of the flag of the United States of America, the flag of the state of New York, the POW MIA flag, and the flag of the town of Philipstown. Now therefore it be resolved that the town board hereby adopts a policy under which only flags flown or displayed at town hall shall be the United States of America, the flag of the state of New York, the POW MIA flag, and the flag of the town of Philipstown. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Councilwoman Farrell.
I vote nay, as stated earlier, because we voted to fly the pride flag last June. I support flying, of course, the flag of the United States of America, the POW-MIA flag, and the flag of the town of Philipstown, if we had one, and the flag of the state of New York. But I would also like to include the pride flag, so I vote nay.
Okay. Councilman Angell.
I vote nay because I was in favor of policy B, which would have allowed community members to apply for a permit and the town board to approve that permit and have some sense of public reaction. So I vote nay.
Councilman Flaherty.
I vote yes, and also say we got some public comment here again tonight, and we had the same public comment a month ago. So like I said, I consider that very important to me. So that's 3 people that came to approve this, and I'm going yes, I approve this.
Councilwoman Cotter.
I vote aye, and again, I want to piggyback what Bob said. We did have an opportunity for the public to come out, and thank you again, Liza, for that beautifully written letter that you said. So again, I vote aye.
And I vote aye, so the motion is approved. Thank you.
Next is a discussion of the draft site agreement for an intermunicipal partnership with the Village of Cold Spring and quotes for the installation of an electric vehicle charging station in the village.
Okay, Jason and Laura, you guys have been working diligently on this. Jason, you want to
Yes, hopefully we'll tag team. This is kind of a complicated, this is a little bit of a complicated issue, and it's just for discussion. Trustee Bosey's been working on it. Martha Upton, the new CSA, the new Climate Smart coordinator, has been working on it. But Martha came in right in the middle of this project, which is quite messy. Welcome to the Climate Smart Task Force. And so maybe I can just give a little context, and then if there's additional context, that would be helpful. So I guess the timeline here is that the town of Philipstown, through the Climate Smart program, obtained a Clean Energy Communities grant for $10,000, and it can only be used for 3 specific purposes: for installation of solar, for a building energy audit, or the installation of electric vehicle chargers. The town board had that discussion and didn't really have specific purposes related to solar installation or an energy audit. And so the town board wanted to explore working intermunicipally with the village of Cold Spring to use this $10,000 grant to install EV charging stations in the village of Cold Spring. The timeline is that we have to have a number of things by November 3rd in order to secure this $10,000 from the state. Those things are a finalized site agreement between the village of Cold Spring and the town of Philipstown, and that's because it's complicated. The town would own the EV charging infrastructure because it's the town's grant, but the infrastructure would be located on village property, so there needs to be a site agreement in place. We've been working off a site agreement that was drafted when the village was previously looking at an EV charging station on Lower Main Street, and so this draft site agreement has been reviewed by the council for the village of Cold Spring and the town of Philipstown. We would also need a letter from Supervisor Van Tassel if you approve of the project, and a quote from an electrician for the project by November 3rd. And so there's a little bit of time pressure, and so just the review here, I guess we really would like some guidance from the board, questions, so we can try to get this done. So I think the main things to focus on are the costs of the project. So in the draft agreement provided to the board, the estimated, and there was an error in the draft I provided, the estimated total cost of purchasing, it's actually, they would be 4 EV chargers. Those are 2 units. Would be $34,000.48, and that consists of $22,600 for the installation of the electrical infrastructure. That's the electrician quote. We've only received 1 quote from Steve Burke. That's about $7,747 for the actual purchase of the EV charging stations, and the estimated EV charging station installation, $2,000, Wi-Fi installation, $425, annual data plan, public signage, and the software package. So that's $34,000. And then, so just quickly, that $34,000 would be reimbursed by the Central Hudson Make Ready Grant Program. So it would cover $20,340 of that total installation cost. The NYSERDA CEC grant would cover $10,000, and so that would leave an estimated total of $3,392, which the agreement proposes should be split evenly between the town of Philipstown and village of Cold Spring, because that's the remaining cost. The only other thing to note is, because this is kind of new territory, that we were proposing, Trustee Bosey and Martha Upton, that the town of Phillips, so interestingly, when a municipality installs EV charging infrastructure, they can set the rate of the charging station. So it's interesting because municipalities can move into putting in this infrastructure and create a new revenue source. We were proposing that because the town of Philipstown would have the electricity bill, that the fees from the charging station would go to the town of Philipstown first to cover the cost of the electricity, and then any other fees above that would be split by the town and the village equally.
Well, basically, any of the maintenance costs would have to be covered, and then the profit would be distributed between the two entities. My question, and I called you, Trustee Bosey, there's no estimate for any site work, so and it's going to be substantial, I would think, and I think we need to we can approach the, our highway and your highway. They can do some of it, but there's still going to be an expense associated. So I think,
Isn't the Make Ready grant that Jason talked about covering that site work?
well, there's the concrete pad, the concrete bollards, there's the trench, there's quite a bit that has to be done.
Trenching will be covered by the Make Ready grant.
The Central Hudson will cover that.
Yes.
Oh, that's 100%. Great. So then there's just the concrete pad, the excavation for the concrete pad, and the concrete bollards would be near.
The bollards for sure. I'm not even positive that we're gonna need a concrete pad.
No, I think you would, because it's similar to the one that's out here. It's got to be mounted to something. So this, you're talking about 4 units, which will be 2 posts. We have 1 post with 2 wires. So you would be that much bigger of a pad. I think it's 3 by 5 they spec. And then I'm going to try to be there tomorrow morning. I'm going to do my best to be there. But you know, this is a new installation, so there's a new service. So there's going to need to be some kind of structure to put the meter and the panel on. So it can't just be on the telephone pole. So that's going to be an additional expense. I'm going through the budget right now. There's not a lot of money available from the town of Philipstown currently. So we're going to have to really get busy over the next month to try to figure out if we can afford to do this or not. But I'd hate to see the $10,000 go. It would be horrible, but you know, we'll have to speak with Mayor Foley as well and try to come up with, you know, splitting the costs. We'll do as much as we can. Volunteered, we did this outside. Steve Burke ended up pouring the concrete for us. So depending on who we get, and I'm sure the highway department can facilitate either ours or yours to do a lot or some of the work. But and we could, there's other ways we could get some stuff done as well.
Depending how much concrete is, I'd be willing to donate to the concrete.
And I will do whatever work I can do to facilitate it within reason. So we'll find out tomorrow what Central Hudson's going to require for the meter and the panel itself. So it was easy here because we just dug a hole from the building and ran the wire out. There was no new service or any of that. I'm sure the service would be in the town of Philipstown's name, just on that property. So it's just an additional electric bill. So
I think we all feel the same way that we don't know the total cost now, and that's why this is just a briefing, and that we want to bring to both of our boards as close to final numbers as we can possibly get to by the end of the month, and so that's what we're really
right. So the deadline is November 3rd. Yeah. So that's the day of our meeting, correct? Mm-hmm. So we may have. We can always do a workshop like the last Wednesday of October to finalize it if we have to. So and when you guys meet, the village meets when? Like every 2 days, right? You have scheduled meetings every Tuesday? Every week. Okay.
We'll have a similar discussion to this next week, and then we'll make sure to time it for a vote.
Okay. Well, we're meeting every.
I was going to say
we're meeting every Wednesday
this
this month
week,
anyway.
next month too, because
for budget, right? So we'll figure it out. So 9:00 tomorrow. If I can, Bob, are you available? If I can't make it
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
No, I'm leaving away tomorrow morning early.
I just have a quick question, John.
Yes.
This is at the municipal parking lot
Yes.
down at Riverview where all the tourists park and everybody walks through, and so 4 more charging stations, like 4 more.
Two dual charging stations.
So it's
Okay.
2 parking spots.
And it's current, and it's just, you're just taking up 2 parking spots.
But it's in the midst of a lot.
Right.
That's there today.
Yeah.
Right. The
No, I'm
people
just
have to
asking
pay
if
the
it's-
people have to pay to park there as it
You're
is.
correct. If there's 4 chargers, it's got to be 4.
4 spots.
Here's the other complication, which is we learned during this process that when Krystal, the previous Climate Smart coordinator, was working with Central Hudson to get the EV charging station outside Town Hall approved, they said, go ahead, green light. And now we've learned that charger, because it doesn't have wireless capacity and is not measuring the electricity used, would not qualify for the Make Ready grant. So we're basically purchasing a second charger that does have wireless capacity with the idea of installing it there, which would just be a disconnect and a connect, which means we'd have an extra.
So, all right, so you're purchasing, I understand that. So
Yeah,
you're purchasing
yeah.
2 units. One would replace the one that we're going on the honor system right now, which I think is working, Tara. You're collecting money out there.
mean, we've only been going for a couple months now. I think last month, I only do it once a month. I collect it and then I put it into the system once a month. It's like $80 maybe.
He's covering the cost.
Some
of
people throw
actually-
change in there.
Yeah, you don't know. It's on the elements.
It's getting used, I will tell you that. There's a car there every time I come into town hall, which is often, there's always a car plugged in out there without fail.
What's the purpose of changing this one out? If
So you
just-
can do electronic billing instead of,
I understand that. Do we really need it?
well,
And also to get the 90% coverage from Central
to get the
Hudson.
90%, the full coverage from
Yeah.
Central Hudson to purchase the other
The
one.
other one.
Right.
Right, so,
this
so, wait a second.
So we gotta change this one in order to get that one.
Exactly right.
That's right,
Yeah.
so that's what I'm saying.
So
It's
they gotta
not
get
really,
Okay. So
That's not- doesn't
I'll be
sound
there
right.
tomorrow morning at 9 and we'll try to figure this out and we'll get a better budget together in the next couple weeks, and by the end of October, we have to nail it down, so. All right. Thank you. Anything else, Jason? You guys have anything
Thank you
else?
very much.
Martha?
Oh, Jason.
Martha, do you have anything to add on?
well, it's for people
Yeah,
out of
okay. All right.
Next is a discussion on the ARPA-funded community needs assessment. Jason, that's you.
This is I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie Hubert from Putnam County Cornell Cooperative Extension. And Stephanie, as you're coming up, I'll just give the quick context. This is just an update for the board. The town, as you all know, the town board allocated an ARPA grant to Cornell Cooperative Extension. Cornell Cooperative Extension serving as the fiscal agent for a community needs assessment around food security to deal with Philipstown residents that are economically impacted by COVID-19. And Stephanie, thank you for sitting through what is a very long meeting and for being here. I'll turn to you, Stephanie.
That's okay. It got me out of the Putnam County Legislative meeting tonight. So,
You're much better here.
so Jason asked me to attend, and it's certainly my pleasure to work with the town of Philipstown on such a progressive issue at hand, and certainly that's what we do at Cornell Cooperative Extension. We pivot and we're flexible to the community needs. And so, at this juncture, we have hired a agriculture and food systems coordinator as we proposed in the original proposal that went forth. And she is doing some work with our food system coalition that was formed 2 years previous, and has worked on an amended budget. And so, the support that we're offering at this time is whatever the town of Philipstown needs in order to make this pilot project a success. The original budget gave us some overhead being the fiscal coordinator, and because I feel so strongly about this project, we've agreed to do the fiscal portion pro bono.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Jason, do you want to add, there's the whole conglomerate with the hub, the whole connection, how it...
Yeah, so I think while the board approved this ARPA funding for food security, I think as we've been talking to other community organizations, it really has grown into a collaboration with the Cornell Cooperative working on food security, but then also there's a lot of other community organizations, that are serving residents. So the community needs assessment has expanded, so to use this funding to kind of find out if residents have other needs. So the group that's participating as kind of a collaboration on this community engagement campaign is Lori Segalos and Jessica Quinones from the Philipstown Hub, and so there will be questions about mental health support needs in the survey that goes out. Maria Helbach from the Food Pantry and Sheila Rausch, who is here, who is a co-chair of the Philipstown Aging at Home group, and Ellen Varela Burstein. And so really the timeline for this is you all see a draft of this mailer that this collaborative has put together. The plan would be, hopefully, we're waiting on a Spanish translation. This mailer would go out mid-October to every home in Philipstown. If any board member has any thoughts or comments about it, but really it's just saying that the town is here and is caring for our residents that need support, and many people do need support. And the hub has been generous enough to offer their phone line and to field calls from this mailer. And the 3 community organizations are listed, and really the main point of this is to identify residents who need supports that can be provided with this kind of coalition of community organizations that's working together.
So this is going to be strictly through the mail only?
Yeah, I think the idea, so there's, the grant allocation was for $15,000. I think the budget's for 14. It would be a community mailer, through the post, potentially 2 mailers. In mid-October, there would be newspaper advertisements. There would be a free community email campaign through partner community organizations. And then as a part of kind of collaborating, all of these organizations said they would volunteer to do some targeted door knocking to really try to reach residents who need supports. And so that would happen in early to mid-November, if all goes well, with a report back on the results of this assessment to the board sometime in January.
The only reason I bring up about the mailer is, I mean, someone's got to put a stamp on it to send it back, right?
No, they would call in, right?
Well, that's what I'm asking.
What's that?
The mailers, do you have to send it back through the mail?
Yes.
Yeah, so that means someone's got to put a stamp on it.
So, yeah, so it's a really, so the,
It's not going to work.
I think what so you can get, so we've been working with Gray Printing and getting advice. You can get a business, I guess a business membership with the USPS that allows them to put a digital stamp on it. That business membership costs $700. I think it lasts a year, but it means that only the reply cards that get sent back get charged. And so it would be a lot cheaper than putting a stamp on 4,500 reply cards.
So,
exactly.
Okay, that's what I mean. If someone's got to put a stamp out of their own pocket.
People can call in as well. And there'll be a digital.
Right, they don't have to mail it. They
That's
can
what
call the hub as
That's what
well.
I'm trying to get. That's what I'm getting clarification now.
No, you're right. You're right. It would be very expensive to have, yeah. So we're trying to work around that.
Okay. So, I mean, it sounds like a wonderful program, and everybody's working as a group to, to ensure there's people in town of Philipstown that need help. And,
No question.
and it's hard to identify. I mean, during COVID, we were giving out the Food Town gift cards, and people were calling Tara, and the phone was nonstop. You with us, Tara? And there was a lot going out every day. And then I don't think, a lot of the need was alleviated. People are back to work, hopefully, but there is still need in the community. So I certainly support it. We will, was our ARPA dispersed to them as of yet?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I know Sue had, I think yours is the one this one is finalized. Okay. This and the hub. So she's away until Tuesday, but we certainly can get this out and get it going. Okay. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Next is an update on the Philipstown Trails Committee from Councilman Angell.
Jason's just taking it away.
No, I'm done talking. I'm going to pass this over to the Philipstown Trail Committee co-chairs, Laura Bosey and Rebecca Ramirez, who are here because you all are the ones really doing all of the work. So would either of you like to, is that a surprise? Would either of you like to do your public engagement timeline?
See if I can find my Google Drive because I'm not prepared. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to take this off.
I can't hear well.
Yeah, so Laura and I are the co-chairs of the Philipstown Trails Committee, and we're getting ready to update the public on the initial findings of our feasibility study. And our plan, we've sent it to Jason if anybody needs a copy of it, because we wanted to really do a great job of informing the community, sharing what we've learned, as well as asking them to continue teaching us and to provide feedback to the different routes that we were exploring with Weston and Sampson. So just to update a couple of you, we are exploring a potential path that would connect Cold Spring and Garrison and the important neighborhood amenities in between. So this is not really a trail, okay? This is more of a linkage of different already walkable areas. So the areas that have been explored, some of them are sidewalks, carriage roads that are not used, things like that. But if you want more information, you can go to philipstowntrails.org so that everybody knows our engagement timeline. Jason can print it for you. It is a working draft, which means we are open to anyone's feedback on how to improve it and how to do better, because the goal is to get a project that's really supported by the community in a big way, and so we need everyone to be a part of making it work for our community. So October 17th, October 24th, we'll be doing a village planning board meeting where we will share our community engagement timeline and ask for feedback in case we're missing anything. Is there something that we're not thinking of on how to reach the community? So we will have full community meetings and resident meetings. The first full community meeting will be November 10th in Garrison at the Desmond Fish Library. Then we will have a workshop here. It's not on the agenda yet, but we plan on having a town workshop in November.
So,
do you want to add more?
Maybe I'll just say one, say again, we are a town advisory committee, and so really coming to you to check in since we were here a few months ago to say that we've made this good progress. Really excited to now take this to we were kind of in that study phase for a good while. Now we're in a public engagement phase. We'll be meeting with, we have a couple, very meetings focused on residents. So we sent letters out to a good number of residents to invite them to give us really specific feedback, and then we'll have these broad public meetings. We would love to have, we know that your agenda is really busy, but we'll really appreciate the opportunity to have a workshop in November. And then this is going toward finalizing this feasibility study that then we would bring back to the board for acceptance.
one of the three options, correct, would be presented.
So the feasibility study will show the analysis that's happened and the public input that's happened, and we expect will identify this is, given what we know now, the most feasible path. But it's not, that's an early stage. Once the feasibility study happens, then there are further studies looking at exactly, where could it be? Is there space in the right of way? That happens afterwards. This is a very early phase.
Question. How many mailers, you said you reached out to the community. How many mailers did you do?
So we did 90 residents.
90 residents out of 8,000 residents.
Well, because this is first looking at, there are 3 routes that we were looking at, and we won't go into the details too much, but what we have found is a lot of challenges. So the most feasible option, or the one that seems to be like a possible direction, a possible option, would most impact 90 residents.
Almost
90, not
Route
number 90.
How many people did you do?
We sent letters to residents along 90,
just along- okay.
from Cold Spring to Philipstown Rec Center to invite them to come to these specific meetings to talk like a little bit more in the weeds about what this could look like, because that's a main route that we're exploring.
So the Metro North from Garrison to Cold Spring, isn't that
We've
connection
shifted
that-
it to not be as focused on the train stations, but rather talk about neighborhoods. So it's more from kind of, we've been saying like from Downey Oil, because that's kind of where Nelsonville and Cold Spring and come together, right? And down to the rec center, because we see that as just like a really prime end of a community resource. So those are the bookends that we're more thinking about now.
Okay, you keep going back to connecting Garrison to Cold Spring, and I just am like, well, that's what the train's for.
Downey
so.
Oil to the rec center.
But we also did
Up
residents.
away from the river.
I'm
It's more
going to
like
always
urban.
be concerned about new trails. I mean, we have the Forge Trail that's forging ahead. So, I mean, I don't understand how many more trails we can possibly put into the community where we're not going to start
I
overflowing.
understand, but the Fjords Trail is really tourist generated. This is more of residential,
I think if we put more,
So
user
Listen, I know
friendly.
I would say
User friendly
if we
for-
could share,
no,
when
everybody
you
needs-
see the facts, I think that will be more telling. So I would just say, just hold on, because we could be making assumptions. But I did want to also answer your question, Councilwoman Cotter, that we also included in that mailer upper station residents and I'm sorry, what was this?
Indian Brook.
In Indian Brook.
area. So those are other roads that
Yeah.
are kind of part of alignment.
And trails, they're great. People hike, it's wonderful to have. At the end of the day, lots of tourists are already here. They're going to come, and it's great for his community, but in retrospect, that's not going to actually happen.
We totally hear you. We totally hear you.
So,
Laura and I are very sensitive to it. And our committee. I'm just
we'll look to forward to seeing
I'm just
the
letting you
studies.
know.
And I have heard from residents who go to the farmer's market, they'd love to be able to walk safely from Cold Spring to the farmer's market at Boscobel. It's a little bit scary. I mean, I've tried it myself. You have to zigzag.
To bike 9D. Don't hit. This comes close, but yeah, 9D would be wonderful to bike if it were a safe route, but currently it's not overly safe.
Can we just make the point that these meetings, all these public engagement meetings, are going to be the consultant showing these possible options on a map, what they may look like, and getting feedback from people, because community support is desired, and I know how hard you all are working on reaching out to a lot of people.
Appreciate it.
You can tell us now or at a later time if there's other pieces of community engagement at this one phase of the feasibility study that you'd like to see us add to our plan. We'd be happy to. We're planning more in January as well. Glad to expand.
So we'll
more.
expect to do a workshop with you guys sometime in November.
If it's possible to schedule, that's our hope.
We're through the budget, pretty much through the budget at that point, so we're in good shape. Thank you both, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is to schedule the budget meetings. Right now, for October 19th, I would like to set up the workshop for fire and ambulance. My only question is, what time do you want to start that? Do you want to do 7?
Yeah, I mean, they should go pretty
I
quickly.
usually do like 15-minute increments,
Yeah.
because and a lot of times one will be 5 minutes. You know what I mean? You can,
So we'll start 7:30, keep it standard.
7:30?
Yep.
and that's okay. You're okay with the 19th?
Yeah, we'll
Wait,
just
the 19th is
double check to make sure the Garrison Ambulance Corps has their budget, because the last few years they've been coming.
No, we have their budget.
Okay, we do.
We
All
have their
right, all right,
budget.
great.
Yeah, it's intact.
All right, okay, that's the only thing I'm gonna say.
And then for,
As I emailed to Tara, I'll have to excuse myself from that date because the senior night at Haldane for
yes,
the
yeah,
teams.
I saw your
Yep.
email. And then the workshop with Rec and Highway will be October 26th, 7:30 again.
Yep.
And then public hearings, Sue Kenny would like the 9th, November 9th.
Yep.
7:30.
Yep.
And then the 16th will be final adoption.
Busy month. But, yep, we're good.
Okay, and then next on the agenda is to schedule other workshops and meetings. So our regular monthly meeting is November 3rd. We still have to reschedule that, that workshop with HHLT and the Philipstown. Yeah, we're gonna schedule it. And then we have the workshop request from the Comprehensive Plan Committee, so I don't know if that's something we can do on the same night. I'm sure they could.
Are you guys cool with doing it on the same night?
We'd like it, ours on the 12th, but we'd like his on the 19th.
Whoa.
Well, the 19th
19th is already occupied by a budget.
is
a
budget, yeah, that's
Full
already.
budget meeting. Is
So
there
the-
any way we can do the same night? Yeah. Okay, so let's plan.
that's why I had to get another
So
look.
we can start at,
You wanna start at 7 instead of 7:30?
yeah, we'll go to 7, we'll start at 7, we'll do one 7 to 8, the other 8 to 9.
What, on the 12th?
12,
Oh, that's a week, that's next week.
next week. Yeah, it's the only Wednesday we
That's
got
fine with
left. Yep,
Okay, so 7 o'clock.
yep.
Okay, who wants to go first?
Wait, October 12th, we have a workshop?
You have
That's
a workshop
Columbus
every
Day.
Wednesday for the rest of eternity.
I hope not for the rest of it.
Okay.
So we're good.
I think so.
We're all scheduled, you guys are good with
I
that?
think
Thank
so,
you.
Yeah. All right, and next is the Code Enforcement Monthly Report. So this is for September. Total fees collected was $23,064.07. There were 25 total permits issued. There were 4 alterations, additions, or repairs to residential buildings, 21 all other permits, 26 certificates of occupancy, 1 stop work order issued, 4 inspections of public assembly, 5 commercial occupancies, and then it says 6
For the
village.
village, yeah.
And the building inspector would like to remind everyone that heating season is here and to have your heating device and chimney serviced prior to use.
By all means, clean your chimney. We had several very active chimney fires last year. It was a crazy season. I don't know what it was, but there were quite a few.
Might
So
be more this year with the price of fuel.
yeah, let's hope people clean their
More
chimney.
people are burning wood.
I have a couple things to add before we open to the public. And so, Bobby, Councilman Flaherty, sorry if I call you Bobby. I've been calling you Bobby for 50 years. So, we met with the incumbent county executive. I mean, he has to be elected still, but it doesn't seem like there's an opponent. But Kevin Byrne, we had a frank meeting with him for an hour and a half. Wants to work with Philipstown, seems very sincere. I'm hoping for a great rapport with him. I appreciate the fact that he took the effort to call and come here and sit here and speak with us for an extended period of time. We got a lot about his background and where he came from, and I wish him the best. So, and I told him that he's got to work with Nancy, our councilwoman, our legislator, sorry. What else do we have? Tomorrow, the Garrison Landing Water District we're going to start drilling a well tomorrow. The well driller, we finally got approval from OSI, we got approval from Putnam County, we got approval from the neighbor to the south. The drill rig is apparently going to be on site tomorrow. It's going to be a track-mounted drill, so it doesn't create a lot of ruts. We don't have to make a road across the field there where the community garden is. So that's hopefully starting tomorrow, and I hope we hit water very quick, and there's a lot of it.
Hope we hit a gusher.
We did, the preliminary budget is available. Tara, did you post it yet? So it is posted, the preliminary budget is posted. Due to a lot of circumstances that we have no control over, we are very tight, extremely tight. We did Sue and I spent a lot of time together the other day trying to get the budget within the 2% cap, which we've managed to do. The employees are not going to be happy with raises. It is what it is. I wish I could pay every employee $100,000 a year, but unfortunately we can't do it. So the raises are all standard, basically. We know there is some time. We may be able to work some other avenues to free up some more money, but it's a tough fiscal year. So I just wanted to let people know that. Part of it, the ambulances, we have the 2 ambulances in the town of Philipstown that we are funding. Last year, we increased the funding for each ambulance, both Garrison and PVAC, by $70,000 in an effort to keep their paid staff in line with the industry standard as far as pay rate, which was $20 an hour. So we broke it down. It ended up being $70,000 per ambulance service. There was a request from Garrison for another large increase, which we just can't do. So when they come in, I don't think they're going to be happy, but we're going to keep them at 2%. On that note, our ambulances, again, I've said this several times, our ambulances are being abused by our surrounding communities. We have 2 ambulance corps, Philipstown and Garrison. They both have paid staff that cover the ambulance. So when you call an ambulance, it's on the road. It's not volunteer. Those people are sitting in the building waiting to go on a call. That is something that the town of Philipstown subsidizes very heavily, and I think that service should remain in the town of Philipstown. Our ambulances, and I listen to my pager, I'm a volunteer fireman, I listen to my pager all the time. They're going to Putnam Valley, they're going to Kent on a regular basis. So I've addressed it with Putnam Valley, I've addressed it with Kent. The other day, I was in contact with the new EMS director for Putnam County, Alex, I don't want to mispronounce her name, Roner, I believe it is. I'm requesting stats as to how many times a day and how often we are going. I have no problem with helping our neighbors, but they need to provide the service themselves, and then we'll subsidize it. If they get multiple calls at the same time, they get an MCI where there's a multitude of patients, we're all about helping our neighbors, but we can't be the primary EMS response for Western Putnam County. So once I get the numbers from the county, if I do get the numbers, I'm going to contact the supervisors of both Kent and Putnam Valley again. Hopefully I'll get a response this time. If I don't get a response, then I'm going to go directly to their town board meetings and make a public statement that it's not fair. So,
Is there any way we could bill them if, Philipstown taxpayers are paying for
Philipstown, the ambulances
for other
can
towns?
bill the patients, but it's still, I am happy to pay the bill that we pay for EMS because they're more likely to save a life than 10 fire trucks. But the thing is, they need to be here. If they're in Putnam Valley, covering Putnam Valley, and we call, we're going to get the volunteer crew, which is going to take some time to get on the road, if they do get on the road. We're paying for it. It should be here. Again, there will be circumstances where they're going to be out of town. If it was truly a mutual aid agreement, there would be a reciprocal service, but that's not happening. It's us going to them constantly. And I've had it. I let the new EMS director know that I'm unhappy. She understood. Also, we did speak with Kevin Byrne about it, who was a volunteer for Kent Ambulance. So he understood the whole thing. Apparently, Lake Carmel, which is part of Kent, is in the process of hiring some people to cover their ambulances. So I would hope Kent would then rely on Lake Carmel. Putnam Valley, and I've said this last month, is building a multi-million-dollar new firehouse, and they're not getting an ambulance out the door. So I think their priorities are a little skewed. So we'll see what happens. Again, I spoke to a town board member in Putnam Valley. Was when I first got on the town board. This was going on 10 years ago, and it was corrected. And for a long time, it kind of goes in cycles where they have people. We all got to just hire. Carmel's hired people. Brewster's hired people. Patterson, Putnam Lake have hired people. It's basically Kent and Putnam Valley that have not. So the scenario is, if you live in Putnam Valley and you're an EMT and there's a call at 2 o'clock in the morning, are you going to get up or are you going to go, I think Philipstown's paid crews there. Go to 2 minutes, and then they'll dispatch Philipstown, they dispatch Lake Carmel and Kent, but Philipstown's on the road because we're paying our people to sit there. So it's not fair, and it needs to stop. I understand there are circumstances again, but ultimately there needs to be a solution that they need to pay people to cover their ambulances. So that's it. So once I get some more information from the county, then I will aggressively approach the surrounding towns. And I think that's all I had to add. So anybody else from the board?
I'd just like to remind people that the e-waste we're collecting up at our recycling center, it's going pretty good. And like I said, it's a 6-month pilot program, so probably by the end of January the pilot program will be over. And depending how much we get, we're going to have to start charging people for it. But at least we have the service, which we haven't had in many years. So it's going along good. Also, I'd like to encourage people to try to join our food scrap program as well. That's another pilot program that we've been doing, and we definitely need more people to get involved with that.
I just want to take a minute and thank the Rec Commission and again Judy and John for supporting the Philipstown Little League and really pushing for a location for our girls. I think it's really important. And I just wanted to take a moment and say thank you again for all of the support.
Thank you for your presentation to the Rec Commission, Megan. I think you really were persuasive on that. And the girls showing up.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
We had some little girls watching us today on the field. It was so cute. They were all excited.
Jason? No. You're all set?
The Rec Commission is looking for volunteers for the Castle Run, October 30th. If anyone would like to volunteer, please go on the Philipstown Recreation Department website or Friends of Philipstown Recreation website. You can sign up to volunteer. Or the town, I think the town, we have it on the town website as well.
Yeah.
But they need volunteers for Saturday, October 30th. And runners, anyone who wants to run can come to the rec center in the morning. There's also a kids run.
Great. Maybe I'll do the kids run. Anybody from the audience? I'm sorry.
I just want to, really quick, and Kim might back me up on this. About 2 months ago, I sent you guys proposals to do a new website. I just want to let you know, I talked to James, one of our ARPA consultants, and he essentially said gave the go-ahead, so really now it's in your hands to pick one of the proposals.
Well, the Garrison Landing situation
Yeah,
will
no,
certainly
I know.
certainly dictate
I know,
a lot of.
but I mean,
what
if we
goes
have a
on.
new website, it'll be so much easier to get a lot of that information out there.
We'll work on that. Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you, Kim.
Try.
The call on the public.
Kim?
Yep.
So, I don't know if you guys know this, but our website that we have at the moment, I built in 2009, in March of 2009, which means that, it's kind of like a Model T, and this past year with all of the Zoom meetings and all the stuff we've had for the planning board, I've been working with Tara to make sure that all the documents get up and they get up on time, and Steve will tell you that there's a lot of stuff and people hand it in at the last minute, and it's a big job. Right. And if we shift from this Model T technology to modern technology, that means that one person won't have to do the website, that each person in each department will be able to do the pieces that belong to them and will be a lot more responsive to the public. So think really hard, please, about approving this.
Prices to give us?
Yep. I can resend them if
Yeah,
anybody
please,
wants.
please.
I can resend them. Yeah, there were 2 proposals.
Right,
I can resend them.
There was a
Yeah.
company in Peekskill. It was very persuasive, that proposal.
well,
the
they're
blue.
There's one that is, sort of a clear favorite because they are kind of the standard.
Municipalities.
And I am willing to volunteer hundreds of hours to migrate things if necessary. So if that saves us something along the way,
So we have to get a new one. We just we can't upgrade the one we currently have. I'm just asking.
At this point,
No, because
No.
because the technology. So it's a WordPress site. It's actually it's sort of a safety issue at this point because the WordPress version, the last time that was updated was maybe 2012, 2014. So there are potential security holes. So it really needs to.
plus ADA compliance and stuff
And ADA
like that.
compliance, and it really just needs to move into the modern world.
You need to get rid of the Model T.
Yeah,
gotta go.
and I was happy to come back and upgrade it a little
I
bit
greatly appreciate
a couple
all
years
We all
ago.
because I
appreciate
wouldn't be
that
able
the work
to
you've
do it
done.
all on my own.
But
Continue.
it will be, people will be happier, and it'll reflect better on the town in general.
I mean, there's really nothing.
Yeah, I remember reading. I just
so
don't know the numbers off the top of my
Send
head.
them again.
I'll resend them.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I definitely
The Reader's
read it.
Digest version.
No, you have to read the whole thing.
I was gonna say, you really gotta.
You got to do your homework.
Cambridge.
Sorry.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else from the audience?
Thank
Yeah.
you so
What's
much.
up, Seal?
If you're gonna do the website, can you take a look into discuss doing a YouTube page for the channel? And then also maybe streaming maybe straight to your town page?
Who you talking to?
You're up.
So, my name is Amy McElwain. I've lived at 63 Walmer Lane for 10 years now, and I'm petrified of public speaking. I believe you're all aware of my concerns about the lot known as 58 Walmer Lane, but I'd like to take 4 or 5 minutes of your time to explain our situation, if I may. I know it's a long night, sorry.
So I'm just going to read from my notes. This empty lot is on the market with Putnam County Health Department approval for a 3-bedroom residence. Greg Warner has told me that he would approve a building permit for the lot because the number of existing residences on Walmer Lane does not exceed the limits described in Town Code Section 112-60. I can read that section if you guys like, but I don't want to waste your time, so I'll just push forward. The building department's maps say that 51 Walmer, which belongs to the Apollonio family, is not an existing Walmer Lane residence. If instead 51 is a Walmer Lane residence, Greg would direct the applicant to the planning board for approval of an open development area road, which might require improvements to the lane for safe access and so forth. So that's what my neighbors and I are seeking, recognition that rather than automatic building department approval, this issue requires review by the planning board. The building department maps are created by Municity Software, which uses the same open source GPS mapping system as Google Maps, Microsoft Bing Maps, and so forth. Anyone can contribute to open source, which means there can be mistakes which must then be corrected. I'm well aware of GPS mistakes, you probably all are too. For example, GPS often tells people that are seeking my house to use the old Walmer Lane entrance off Route 9, even though Hurricane Irene washed away that bridge 11 years ago. Google Maps says I live on Perks and Sons Court, which is an actual road but not connected to Walmer. Bing Maps used to say I live on Perkinson's Lane, which doesn't seem to exist in reality. Microsoft recently corrected this, but that's what Greg's map is telling him too, that some of us Walmer Lane residents actually live on Perkinson's Lane. All Walmer Lane survey maps from the past 4 decades indicate that number 51 is on Walmer. The Apollonio's deed says Walmer Lane. They pay taxes as Walmer residents, and that's what the Philipstown tax maps say. The post office recognizes them as Walmer Lane residents. The Putnam County 911 or 911 emergency maps do the same thing. Walmer Lane is a private road, and the Apollonios are listed in our road maintenance agreement on file with the county. For over 30 years, the Apollonios have paid to maintain the lane like the rest of us for snow plowing, sanding, salting, fill grading year after year. And Frank Apollonio is out there taking care of the lane with all the rest of us plowing snow, blowing leaves, clearing drainage, grading, digging with his tractor and by hand. In 2012, when the Apollonios and all the other Walmer Lane residents were dealing with the Walmer Bridge collapse after Hurricane Irene, the minutes for a meeting with Town Supervisor Richard Shea and Highway Superintendent Roger Shirico recognized them as Walmer residents. They're listed as Walmer residents on all related correspondence with county, state, and federal officials too. So in every practical, historical way, according to everything except Municity Software, number 51 is among the 8 residences on Walmer Lane. In November 2000, Walmer residents attended a town board meeting like this with the same concern. Jeff and Kelly Rizzi of 56 Walmer, who are here tonight, were at that meeting. So was Frank Apollonio, who is here again as well. The late Pete Johnzek of 44 Walmer pointed out that Walmer residents had tried for years to obtain building permits of their own. Vera Giordano and her late husband of 30 Walmer wanted to subdivide their property in the 90s and build a house for their son, but they were told no, because Walmer Lane already had 8 residences. The Apollonios hoped to do the same thing, but they understood it would not be permitted for the same reason. The Rizzis once asked about purchasing the empty lot, and they were told the same thing, as were my husband and I, that after the meeting in 2000, no building permit was issued for the lot. Since then, nothing has changed about Walmer Lane to suddenly exclude 51 Walmer. Meanwhile, the lot's owner, who lives in Connecticut, filed paperwork with the county indicating that Walmer Lane is in Garrison. She doesn't even know where the property is. On the other hand, your neighbors, the taxpayers on Walmer Lane and adjacent to the lot, like the Rotondos on Perks Boulevard, the Bartons on Highview Terrace, know all too well how our property value and quality of life would be affected by development. We should have a chance to be part of this process. That's what the town code instructs for a roadway with 8 residences, and the town has a clear history of recognizing 8 residences on Walmer Lane. So we elected you as our representatives to strengthen our community and to look out for our interests above all others. With 8 existing houses on Walmer Lane, automatic approval of a building permit does not seem appropriate in this case. And I ask you to recognize instead that any future request should be turned over to the planning board for review. Ugh.
Thank you. I appreciate all your research, all your emails. You're a great writer, and you've done a tremendous
Don't want to
amount.
be here, don't want to send you any more emails, I really don't.
Please don't. I did speak with the building inspector, the code enforcement, Greg Warner. He has a completely different opinion about
Yes.
the building. And it goes back to whether the person lives in Connecticut or if they live on Perks Boulevard, there's rights that are associated with that building lot. And it is a building lot. The scenarios you were painting were subdividing properties were being rejected. All that said, the code has changed several times over the years. And Steve, you've done a little research. You spoke with Greg about this, but if you could, you gave us some reasoning today as to.
Make Amy very happy. The code section you cite was repealed last year, and the town board, in place of it, enacted a revised section which said that for any properties on a roadway with more than 10, you have to improve the road to regular town road specs, as we discussed earlier today. They're set forth in the code. If there are 9 or less, there's the lesser private road standard that you have to improve the road to. Either way, you got to go to the building inspector and the planning board to have review of the application for a building permit in regard to improving the roadway. So you absolutely will have an opportunity to have input on any application for a building permit for those properties. They have to go to the planning board.
So how does that work? If somebody were to submit a building permit request to Greg, then how does it become public? How do we become aware of it? How do we become part of the process?
Well, there'll be a public hearing on it before the planning board. It gets noticed, it's published in the newspaper. No, there isn't a posting of signs requirement for that. It's not a special permit. So, you just gotta, there may be a mailing requirement if you're close enough, you know.
That's all we want.
Yeah,
That's
so
great. I thought you
that's
said
the
you were
way
gonna
it
make
is.
me
But the
happy.
old 8-lot, 4-lot distinction has been abolished. It doesn't exist anymore, so.
You'll get a letter.
Really?
And I spoke with Greg about this. He's aware of the situation in regard to this road and everything.
Then why'd you make me stand up here and talk for 5 minutes? No, all right, okay. I can hand it to you if you want.
Okay, we're going to wrap up. Yes, sir. Would you like to? Yes. Let's make it brief because I'm shot. 7:30.
Okay, good evening. My name is Frank Apollonia, and I happen to be the one at that 51 Walmer Lane. Half Walmer Lane happens to be my property. These 3 people, they do have an easement to go through my property to go to Perks.
Right.
This lot, I don't think they do, to start with. 2, I pay my taxes on Walmer Lane. Now they told me, according to the building inspector, because I have another access on Perks Boulevard, they don't consider me as on Walmer Lane, I can go on Perks Boulevard.
Right.
But now I have the $150,000 question, because that's what's worth to me. What if I decide to subdivide my lot
Right. You're right.
and put a house on Perks Boulevard? They're going to tell me, no, you cannot put it because you already got the existing one from 51 Walmer Lane going on
We
Perks.
would have to address that when the time comes, but it would go before the planning board. And, the interesting thing, I was here during the whole hurricane situation, and unfortunately, your bridge could not be rebuilt because there was not a homeowners association.
Right.
Which I would strongly encourage you guys to form a homeowners association.
Well, we tried.
Otherwise, like all the other bridges that were rebuilt by FEMA, that one was off the charts because there was no homeowners association. I grew up on Perks, so when I grew up on Perks, it used to end at Connie Bear's house, and then, but all those homes were built after that. There was a time where there was the gate was open, and we used to go up Perks and go out
That's one of the.
out Walmer Lane, but then there was the complaints at Walmer Lane, no, we don't want the traffic, so the gate was installed, and then the bridge was out, and so obviously you guys are
But
using.
that's another reason why I have another excess on Perks.
Right.
Because the town truck, when they plow the snow, they cannot back up all the way to Perks and Sons. So they'd use my driveway to back in to make your turn to go back out. That's why the reason was built.
if I'm saying this correctly, this will go to the planning board. If somebody buys the property, it would go to the planning board for the upgrade of the road strictly.
Yes, for an open development road approval.
So,
With that, is there a way to make them rebuild the bridge?
Well, the standard for the road improvements is still at bottom, the accessibility for emergency vehicles. So if there's other access besides the bridge, I would think not.
and that's been done. Fire trucks have been in there.
I was just there a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it'd be nice to get that also, too, it was my understanding that the town offered to build that bridge. Yeah, well, that's what, put it this way.
$300,000 cost. We cannot even afford the mortgage. Now we're going to put a bridge for
It was
$300,000.
offered, from my understanding, it was offered and it was turned down. Anyway.
Yes. Yep.
I offered to buy that property next to me as a buffer when I first moved in, because that's when it first started, back in 2000 when I first moved in here. And I was told that after all the commotion and stuff we went through, that property was landlocked. And why would you spend your money on it and waste the money on taxes when it's landlocked?
I don't know who told you that, sir, but
I know who, I mean, I could mention his name, but he was an ex-supervisor of the town here.
but we're going by the town code as it's written currently, and that's the process. That's all we can do is go by
Well, I
what.
just wanted to state that publicly. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Thank you. Anything else? Going once, going twice. All right, approval of vouchers. I lost,
Right.
they're gone. All right. Thank you, they're gone. I lost my, where's my agenda? All right. Approval of vouchers, general.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Highway,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye. Continental Village Park District,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye. Continental Village Water District,
So
So
moved.
moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
You need that?
Nope. Good night, thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Second.
It's gotta be 100 degrees.
It's